Okay, this is Bill Apter. Once again, we're at Madison Square Garden. We're speaking here with a man who's got a big grin on his face, manager of champions, Albano.
Well, as you know, Apter, we tricked Pedro Morales. We had him up there on TV.
Now, wait a minute. Lou?
Just a minute. Keep quiet while I'm talking. We're not interested in your opinions. We humiliated the man before some 27,319 people. Wait a minute. I've had a report. Pedro Morales was humiliated. Imagine Freddie Blassie walking in the ring with his arm in a sling and the dummy Pedro Morales falling for it. We turned around, snapped it over his neck. You know what I'm talking about? The tourniquet, the arm sling, and we choked him like a pretzel.
What?
And that little fat round meatball face came through a blood-rushing gusher, and there he was, Pedro Morales, the world champion, humiliated, humbled, right in the middle of the ring, nothing before Mr. Blassie, Mr. Freddie Blassie, and the unbelievable Lou Albano.
Why did you guys trick him like that?
Well, let me tell you, a man that has the brain of an imbecile has to be tricked, because if not, he'll trip over his own feet. He doesn't have the intelligence, he doesn't have the knowledge, he doesn't have the intestinal fortitude to manage it. We had to trick him. This was either do it or don't, and we were proud to say that we tricked Pedro Morales.
Well, isn't it true that you could have gotten your title shot that day on television?
We could have gotten our title shot any time, but we didn't want to. We wanted to humiliate Morales. We weren't content in just beating him, as we're going to do in Madison Square Garden, but we wanted to humiliate the man. We wanted to show the man up as a fraud. We wanted to show the man up as a fake. We have no respect for him. We realize that the man has no ability whatsoever. He's called his shots. He's had picked opponents. Now he's up against Mr. Wrestling, the next Worldwide Wrestling Federation champion, the Pacific Coast champion, the world champion, Mr. Freddie Blassie.
What made you hook up with Blassie?
Well, let me tell you something. When I watched Freddie Blassie wrestle, I witnessed poetry in motion. I watched a man that had class. Classy Freddie Blassie. And I knew, I said, Lou, I said, here you have the finest athlete in the world today, Mr. Freddie Blassie, with some 17, 18 years of experience. The man is unbelievable. He's unbeatable. He has speed. He has agility. He has takedown, go behind. The man cannot be beat. I want to own and be a part of the next world champion, and I know in Freddie Blassie I have that.
Okay, Blassie's over in the corner there sharpening his teeth up. Do you believe in his, him fighting
let me tell you this. I believe in anything it takes to win a match, and Freddie Blassie has beaten more opponents than I can shake a stick at, and whatever he needs to beat an opponent, that's okay with Lou Albano.
Would Blassie care to add anything to this?
Well, that's up to Mr. Freddie
Mr. Blassie, would you care to add anything before about 2 hours before the match with Morales?
Well, all I can say is, Morales, I hope he's got his belt shined up very nice and clean for me, because after tonight's match, the belt will be around my waist where it rightfully belongs. You know, they call me Mr. Wrestling for one reason, because I'm the roughest, toughest fella to ever step in that squared circle. They also call me Mr. Box Office, as you well know, due to the fact that I've broken every record, I've set every record existence in wrestling today. Regardless of where I've wrestled, Freddie Blassie holds the record. And as you well know, just a minute, you pencil neck geek, don't interrupt me.
Stop interrupting, Mr. Blassie.
Sorry about that.
Have a little respect.
You better be sorry, you pencil neck, you. Otherwise, you'll be crawling out here on all fours. You won't be walking out. As I said before, tonight, this is the first time in history that a wrestler has broken his own record here at Madison Square Garden.
Excuse me, Mr. Blassie, let me interrupt. Do you know that they made a statement this morning? The press was here in New York City claiming that Madison Square Garden was sold out at 10:27 this morning. Well, that is a lie. I have it from a reliable source that Mr. Blassie sold Madison Square Garden out on the 23rd of this month.
Now,
March 23rd.
Lou, let me say something. Now, a lot of the fans outside, and I'm giving you first word, say that they're not coming to see Blassie defeat Morales, but to see Morales do a job on Freddie Blassie.
Well, we have a lot of sick people out there, and we're not interested in what they have to say. We're only interested in what Mr. Blassie and Lou Albano have to say, and our proof is right out there. You have 22,227 people for a new indoor record in the United States and throughout the world. And who set the record? Mr. Wrestling, Freddie Blassie, and Lou Albano.
Fred, you seem to differ in your opinion on fans on the East Coast and West Coast. You seem to love the fans on the West Coast, and you don't seem to dig the fans here on the East Coast. What's the difference?
Well, after all, I've said many, many times, the fans out on the West Coast have got intelligence. They've got class. I have yet to see anybody here on the East Coast with any intelligence or class. All I see is a bunch of pencil-neck geeks. And as I'm sitting here, my friend and my manager, my good friend, Mr. Lou Albano, he showed me a picture, an 8x10. And as I look here, all I can see is 5 rinky-dinks. And among those 5 rinky-dinks, you got one pencil-neck geek over here. What's his name? This guy, this little whipsword over here.
Peperico.
That's a former boxer, Willie Pep.
Yeah. Willie Pep. Ain't that a dooley for you? What a face. My God, I seen better heads on cabbages. And who's this pencil neck next to him?
You don't even have to.
And this guy on the end here.
Graziano.
This guy here, he's stuck for an answer when you tell him hello. God almighty.
Now, wait a minute. What about this picture of Freddie Blassie?
Well, that's class. That's beauty. That's perfection.
That you like.
That's right. And that's getting back to these pencil neck geeks here on the East Coast, I said before. They've got no class, no ability, nothing, no know-how or anything. I've yet to see a beautiful broad here in the East Coast. All I've seen is a bunch of slobs. They don't know how to dress. The gals out on the West Coast, they've got class, beauty, finesse, and everything, and they appreciate a good man when they see one. These pencil neck geeks up here, they don't know what a man is. But I'll show them tonight when I get out there in that ring, and they'll be able to compare what a man and what a boy looks like. And as I'm talking about the boy, you know who I'm talking about. That pencil neck geek, Pedro Morales.
All right, gentlemen, we have to wind up here, and I want to thank you, and we'll look forward.
We'll tell you when to wind up. Don't tell us when.
We're ready, should have taken.
I thought you talked about it. You want an interview. You bring us out here, and then for 2 minutes,
Bill Apter with Lou Albano
one of these little Eastern tapes there. Why don't you get one of those Western tapes where you get one more thing on it?
Thank you, Mr.
You put on here, get a guy on here for a 2-minute interview. We got all kinds of tapes out on the West Coast. We can talk for an hour. I love to talk when I get started.